There's always a really big moment in a novel where something happens that you hope will make the audience go, oh. And I think in both of these novels, and now honestly, especially in Connectivity, I think that moment really, really works. It really sings. And I feel very proud of the work that I put in to make that happen. I feel very proud of the readers that I've had communicate with me, how they felt about it, that I know that thing worked, that it does what it was meant to do. Connectivity is full of surprises, and the things that really work, the surprises that really work, that's what I'm proud of. I'm proud of that. Yeah.
Everyone, welcome back to Living the Next Chapter. What's better than having an author on the podcast? I can tell you one thing better is to have an author come back on a podcast and talk about the next project. It's exciting. What I love is meeting great people, hearing their story, watching them progress as an author. And again, to have them come back, it's just so cool. CB is here on the podcast when we're talking about his next book. He was on, we'll have links to the previous episode when he was on here in the past, but he's back again. And a new project to talk about, which I'm excited about. And I'm so excited to have you here. CB, welcome back to the podcast. Nice to have you here.
Thanks, David. It's great to be here. Good to see you again.
It's good. I love it. It's like talking to an old friend. It's really good. Mm-hmm. Excellent. So we have new listeners coming to the show all the time. Maybe they haven't heard that episode before. Can you introduce yourself, tell everybody where you're from, and remind us about book number 1? Let's start there.
Okay. My name's CB Strul. I'm a sci-fi author. I have my own indie publication company called Odom's Library. And the first novel came out last October, is called The Ancient Ones, and it takes place about 100,000 years in the past. An ancient alien comes in contact with an ancient human, and she and that alien become friends and learn to communicate through music. My next novel is called Connectivity, and technically it takes place in the same universe. But you don't need to read the first book to enjoy the second one. It takes place 200 years in our future. So there's a huge amount of time between the two novels.
Okay.
I live in Los Angeles with my fiancee, Madison, and her family, and we have 3 really cute pug dogs. We got a betta fish and 2 snails.
Okay, wait. So the snails, are they like a party? What is it like having 2 snails?
They're climbing the walls all of the time, and then they drop down, and then they create a bubble in themselves, and they float straight up to the top. It's the craziest thing.
Okay, well, see, now having a snail now is going to be the most popular thing ever. Everyone's going to want one.
Yeah, and they help to clean your tank, although our tank is made out of an old Don Julio bottle.
There you go. Oh, do the snails have names? I got to know.
Yeah, Sancho and Panza.
Of course they have names. Okay, great. So they're a little slimy, but they're slow. Are they slow or are they fast?
They're fast.
Okay.
They move. They get around.
Okay. Well, there you go. So welcome to the Snail Podcast. It's exciting to have CB on the show. This is great. So tell me a little bit about the response from book 1. How did that go? Are you encouraged by it? Is there anything you would do different as you look at the launch of book 1?
Yes. So I have been very encouraged. My reviews have been very good. But as an indie author, it is certainly difficult at times to get the word out there.
Yeah.
My best experiences with The Ancient Ones have come at book signings, especially if you as an indie author can find a bookstore that has good foot traffic, that doesn't go necessarily the traditional route. I have a couple of locations of a store called The Open Book here in Los Angeles, and they are really accommodating. They're a used bookstore, and they have good foot traffic. And people are coming in all the time. And when I sit down at the table and I meet with somebody, they're very interested in literary fiction in general. They want to know. They want to know all sorts of things, and they want to have a conversation. And it is deeply heartening, the response that I've gotten at those book signings that I've done for that. what I might do differently, or have done differently already with connectivity up to this point is, I had spent money on publicity the first time around, and I didn't necessarily have the backing for that money to begin with. So it's been a long road of trying to recover from the money that I spent on publicity the first time around. I don't necessarily believe that up to this point that even has made its money back. I do love the idea of getting all that information out through like somebody else who's a professional at it. I know a couple of things now, so I'm trying to do it my own way with connectivity and not put myself into unnecessary debt at the beginning of my author career.
So this is wise words for an author that's listening who is maybe ready to launch or thinking about their next launch. So is there anything you could suggest to an author around launching their book that you would, now that you've had two kind of going at the same time and all this, like there's something you could teach a fellow author about launching their book the right way?
Word of mouth, absolutely.
Yeah.
I have been big on Threads. Threads is a really good writers community. So I have found a couple of interviews that I've done recently through Threads specifically. People are just putting it out there. They want to talk to authors. They want to hear about books. I'm certain that I've sold a few copies that way. I've sold some copies randomly at the airport. I always keep an emergency copy of my book on hand.
Good.
So yeah.
That's good. That's a good idea because people are going to get on a flight. They'd have no Wi-Fi, maybe on the plane, whatever, and they're looking for something to keep them company. To have one in your pocket, that's so smart. That's a great idea.
Thank you.
I think I'm going to go hang out at the airport now and hand out business cards. Listen to my podcast. Download it before you get on the plane. You can listen to CB on my show. So yeah, that's really good. I like that. Yeah, and I love having you on the show. This is another form of word of mouth marketing. Is a sense that not only can we hear about the book, but we can hear your voice and get a better connection with you as the author, as a reader, right? We can hear your voice, understand the book better, and have a better appreciation for what you've written, I think, just by hearing you explain it. So it's great.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. And can I just say, like, we really appreciate you doing this. Like, you don't have to do these podcasts, and you do them really well, David. We really appreciate it.
Now you're making me all warm and fuzzy inside. That's great. I want to go pet a pug. That's what I want to do right now. It's exciting.
Me too.
All right. So take us behind the scenes of connectivity. Like, what is the big story here? Like, we're not going to give anything away because you got to buy the book. Connectivity. Like, where did the spark come to write this?
All right. Let me start with the back of the book. All right.
Yep. Let's go.
Decades after a great climate disaster, one corporation state continues to weather the storm. At Clearbridge National City, employees are tasked to play video games that affect their real-world surroundings. These employees, known as the gaming class, are the lifeblood of their corpocracy. Single mother, Seti Nivan, is one such employee. As she rises through the gaming class ranks to upper management, she finds it increasingly difficult to communicate with her son, JC. But one night, she is introduced to an experimental program that she believes will help her to improve the relationship between herself and her boy. This is connectivity.
This feels like a movie. Just you reading that to me, I'm like, come on. Like, I'd watch that.
Perfect. Yeah. So that's definitely what I wanted to get into about it. There was a very non-traditional route for this novel to becoming a novel. It began as a screenplay.
Okay.
Back in 2018. I brought that copy of the screenplay to my brother. We spent a while talking about it because, to be honest, it was a little bit darker. And he had some thoughts about the ending, and I've taken those into account when I was redrafting that screenplay initially. I really appreciate his role in that, and I haven't told him that enough recently, so I wanted to say it on here.
Good.
In 2019, I actually was working with a production company on making that screenplay of connectivity into a feature film. I brought on a director named Eric Zaragoza. He goes by Z. He's a good friend of mine. And I'm going to be doing a podcast with him coming up here, which is going to be really exciting. But he was super stoked about the concept, and we worked we worked for months and months on a new draft of that screenplay additionally so it got to a certain point where, I mean, that screenplay is closer to the book than anything that I had before. And then we failed to get funding in time before COVID hit.
Of course.
The COVID shut down Hollywood. I moved in from my old house. I moved in with Maddie and her family, and I began working on the ancient ones. I kind of put connectivity on the back burner for a minute. When I realized that that Hollywood wasn't going to be immediately reopening, they weren't necessarily going to be looking for new authors, new perspectives in that way, I switched the ancient ones over from a screenplay to a novel. And while I waited for that to come back from my editor, Alyssa Matesic, who's fantastic, by the way, if you ever work with her, she's great. I would definitely recommend her services. She's got her own YouTube channel as well, Alyssa Matesic. But when I was waiting for her to get back to me with notes on the novelization of the ancient ones, I realized I was getting antsy, and I turned around and I novelized connectivity.
Wow.
During that process, I found new information about the world, the characters. I gave it some depth that the screenplay didn't necessarily need, because the screenplay is an outline. When you're writing a novel, you're not just writing for somebody else to interpret it into a visual medium. You're writing the finished product. And I think I learned a lot from the ancient ones to getting to connectivity. I think connectivity is really strong because of that. It has this extra layer of foundation. It had the same foundation that the ancient ones had, plus I had already written another novel. So I'm very proud of connectivity.
So even though the books aren't like, you don't have to read them in order to understand them, they do build off each other to some degree then, right?
Yes and no. Okay, these two in particular are very standalone-ish to begin with. By the time we get to my next book, I think you're going to be happier with the experience of reading it if you've read one or both of these ones.
Okay.
It can still stand alone, but that's in the future. That's not till next year. So let's, but I will say this, since COVID, I was fortunate enough to be in a situation with my fiance where she recognized what I wanted to be doing, and she let me take my time to put these words down, to spend the time every day writing some of these novels. So I just hit the 40,000 word mark in my sixth one. This is only my second one. Wow. I just hit the 40,000 word mark in my sixth one, which is a big moment. It's a big milestone for any book, for anybody who knows. Traditionally, 1950s style publishing, 40,000 words makes a novel. 60,000 words is my goal every time. Wow. But I'm at 40,000 on the sixth one. So the other ones are pretty cool. I'm really excited to get to that point. But right now it's connectivity's turn, and connectivity is absolutely one of my favorites. It has gone through the most bizarre and exciting journey of any of the books. So
okay, I gotta ask, what puts your butt in a chair to write that much? Like, what makes you sit down to do that?
I love it. I love stories. I love storytelling. I'll tell you straight up, I love reading. I love movies. The experience of sitting down and gaining that new information one way or another, I love. And I love being able to create it. I love just being able to dream about it. I get these what would you say? These eureka moments. Sometimes they're dreams. Sometimes they just happen in the middle of a conversation. Sometimes I'm reading I read New Scientist magazine all the time, and sometimes that little bit of science gives me momentum for this new idea. And then once I start sitting down with the characters, start trying a world build, I don't know. I just can't stop. I can't stop. And then what I really enjoy about that practice is I sit down, I write the first time. The next day, I sit down, I type what I wrote, then I write the next section. So I always give myself a runway. And then later that afternoon, I'll talk to Maddie and I'll read what I wrote to her. She'll give me her thoughts. It'll give me this little in-process editing opportunity without having to change a whole lot. And then the next day, I'll just do the same thing.
CB, I wish you were a little more excited about this because you're just, you're just like, you're lighting up as you talk about this. I love it. It's just so cool that you have, you have found yourself as an author. And I talk to a lot of authors who are trying to find themselves. Like they're new at this. They're learning the craft of writing. You are a great example of someone who has found their voice. And I love it. It shows. That's got to be exciting. It's got to be exciting to find your voice.
I mean, there's nothing quite like it. I used to think of myself as a screenplay writer, and I would just like whip out a screenplay in like 3 months, and I would feel really proud about it. But I knew it was missing some of those things that the director would get to create for it, and I get to do that now.
When I talk to authors, sometimes I talk to authors who they've written their very first debut novel or their book, and there's their very first time out the gate. I've also had authors on who've written many books. And it doesn't matter if you have many or few books as an author. There's these things you're still developing that you wish you were better at, that came easier. And it's something that it's a muscle that you're still working on developing. What is one of those muscles for you that is not yet there, even with all the things you've done, that you're still working on?
I mean, there are moments where I certainly back myself into a corner with characters.
Okay.
The world is the way that it is, and I need to be truthful with those characters. And I guess the muscle that I need to exercise most is giving myself that fluidity. So I don't force a character to do something that isn't their truth. And I try every single time I sit down to write to give them the opportunity to tell their truth. And if their truth is that they need to lie, that's its own thing, absolutely. But and sometimes that is necessary. But finding that character's truth and remaining true to it, maybe sometimes in spite of places that I would want to go. It's a difficult thing sometimes to turn down a story moment that I was excited about if it's not right for the character.
Okay, that makes sense. CB, do your characters talk to you during the writing process?
I guess they talk through me.
Through you, okay. Like, sometimes do you feel led by your characters where you're like following the story and you're more of a passenger than the creator?
In the book I'm working on now, that is how I feel.
Okay.
In connectivity, I part of the reason the story got darker was because I was trying to force it to go in a certain way, and then through all of the different edits and all of the different drafts that I went through on connectivity, I think that I found those characters' truth eventually, but it wasn't automatic. So they speak more. Now I think they speak more through me. I'm feeling that fluidity now, and it's interesting to see the way that it turns, because it's not necessarily the direction that I initially visualized. My last book, I feel like almost the full way through, they were fluidly living their truth, and it was almost easier than the one I'm working on now. But I'm really, excited about that process of trying to get to know these characters better for myself.
Okay. Talk about the cover of the book. Explain what's going on here. I'm looking at it on the website right now, and tell me what's happening on the cover of your book.
Yeah. Okay. First, to get to that part of the story of the cover of the book, I would like to say thank you to my awesome artist, Mari Karakosian. She came in for Aurelia Lozano. Aurelia Lozano did the cover for The Ancient Ones. She did a fantastic job. We had a really cool rapport, and we worked well together. And in fact, she still has a mark on the inside of the book. There's a little tattoo right on the opening page, and she designed that initially, and then Mari came in and did some extra work on that piece. So they both get credit for that. But the main cover is all Mari. What's going on the cover is you can see the image of Seti Nivan, the single mother from the book, and she is touching a screen using the connectivity program that she's going to try to speak with her son on. And you can see the reflection through that screen of her face and the image of the avatar that she creates for herself.
Okay. All right. I'm interested now. You got me even more. All right. So how does this, where do we find this image in the story? Is it close to the beginning? Like where does this fit into the storyline?
Let's see. It is the third chapter.
Okay.
Yeah, which begins on page 55.
All right. So I love when people do this, by the way, CB, but is there a possibility that you could, as we're kind of chatting, if you can select a little bit from your book, that you could give us a little teaser and you can read to us a little bit? I know I'm throwing this at you in the moment, but as we kind of go through this, if something pops out for you, we can definitely highlight the book. I love listening to an author read something in their own words because you're going to accent things. You're going to add some emphasis to the words that maybe a reader's not going to naturally pick up on because you're the creator of the book, right?
Yes. No, I've thought about, and I had tried to do the reading for the Ancient Ones to put it on Audible. And I wasn't exactly happy with how it turned out, but I think at the same time I've learned from that. I read to Madison all the time. We read together out loud, lots of different books. So I think I could probably do this. I'm going to start with the first chapter. I'll just start from the very beginning.
Okay. Can you set it up for us? Is there anything we need to know before we hear you?
It's the very, very first chapter.
All right. Give us a little taste.
1. The Gaming Class. Game. Howler Monkey Helix 2. Purpose. Skyline Webley. Quarter. Tenement 5. Operator. Seti Nivon. Ranking. 3 of 98. The ape-like creature stood idle against the veneer of the soft monitor, calmly waiting for its first command input of the day. Its long, shaggy arms swayed side to side in a pre-designed synchronicity. Beep. A woman sat down at the seat before the monitor. It towered over her, a curved obelisk of organic light-emitting diodes built into a joyfully touchable surface. The woman raised her hands up to press against that surface, which moved in liquid ripples against her fingertips. She felt satisfaction as her skin rubbed across the rolling screen, bringing the howler monkey into sentient action. It responded to her movements in broad stroke to the best of its programmed ability as she tapped her middle and ring fingers upon the place its body occupied. This sent the ape on a mad, trampling dash through a jungle landscape that only then opened up before it. Branches began to take on patterns in the curve of the screen above, and the woman reached for the ones she wanted with her pinkies outstretched. So the howler monkey rose up in parallel and caught onto one of those branches, then another. It swung with phenomenal speed, taking each branch in stride according to the motions of the woman, the operator. She herself sat in a great gaming hall. Behind and next to her, many additional monitors of this style filled the floor. Not a single seat was empty. Each station had been taken by a pre-designated operator classified to the day shift. Rarely would one such seat remain vacant for long. That's probably okay to stop there.
I love it. You're putting me in the room. I love that. That's great. It's a great visual.
Thank you.
See, now that's the sign of an author, right? To take somebody, transport them to another location they've never been, give them context, and make them feel like they belong in the story. Amazing.
I really appreciate that. Thank you, David.
It's amazing. Okay, so when you look at connectivity and Ancient Ones, when you look at the two, what is your proud moment as an author? Like we have the two books to kind of reference here, but what makes you proud? What part of the process, what part of the result, what makes you so happy as an author to continue on the next thing?
You know, there's always a really big moment in a novel where something happens that you hope will make the audience go, oh. And I think in both of these novels, and now honestly, especially in connectivity, I think that moment really, really works. It really sings. And I feel very proud of the work that I put in to make that happen. I feel very proud of the readers that I've had communicate with me, how they felt about it, that I know that that thing worked, that it does what it was meant to do. Connectivity is full of surprises, and the things that really work, the surprises that really work, that's what I'm proud of. I'm proud of that. Yeah.
Amazing. And then the feedback too from your community. You've got Maddie there with you. You got friends and family that are there in your corner. I think we did this the last time you were on the show, but I know Maddie's in the background and she's well behaved because she's not like jumping in the camera and taking over. This is great, but she's a great support for you in all of this. You talk about her reading and helping you through it and all that. Now, again, we've done this before, but I want to do it again here because I think it's important. What's it like to have somebody in your corner supporting you, giving you the tools and the feedback to make your writing better? What does that mean for you as an author?
I mean, it's the best. I couldn't be an author without Maddie. I couldn't. Straight up, like when I was by myself and I was screenwriting before I met her, that was part of it. I couldn't take the full time. I didn't have those opportunities. She's given me those opportunities. Like she takes care of me when I don't have the time to take care of myself. And she believes in me when I'm feeling down. And it just keeps me going. It keeps me going. And it's the most important thing. Also, for what it's worth, you made the joke about her not jumping onto the screen and not taking over. She's very good about that. But what she's really good about is taking over when we're out in public, because I can be absolutely shy about my work. And she'll just walk up to random strangers and be like, "Do you guys like reading sci-fi?" And I was like, "Oh, she's selling a book right now for me." And she does that. So if you could find yourself a Maddie, I would recommend that if you're trying to be a new author.
Get your own Maddie because you have the original. So get your own, right?
Yeah, get you a Maddie.
There you go. I love it. And maybe a couple snails and a pug. That'd be great. Good combo. So you get out your books out into the world. You're looking for feedback from readers, from fellow authors. Tell me more about the power of a great review when people give you feedback. What do you do with that as an author when somebody leaves you a review online, when they purchase a book or in person? What do you take back with you as an author to review and contemplate? How important are reviews to you?
I mean, reviews are like you never, like they say, don't judge a book by its cover. Don't judge a book by its cover, but people do. You could judge a book by its reviews because that means that somebody cared enough about it to write something about it. I've been fortunate up to this point to only have 5-star reviews, and that includes on Connectivity now. I have a couple of reviews on Connectivity out now, which is very exciting for me. I'm still looking for ARC readers, to be honest, which is advanced reader copy readers. So I'll put that out there. But I've been finding some. It is crucial to get good reviews, especially in the indie marketplace. The only way that it's gonna click up in numbers is if the algorithms know to look for your book, to submit your book to somebody else. And yeah, you can pay for that with certain things, but the payment's only going to go so far. Right. The reviews are the way that they're going to like look at it and be like, "Oh yeah, you know what? Maybe the algorithm is right."
Yeah, and I do see it I've had authors mention when they have their books on Amazon, for example, a verified purchase is a great review because the person actually bought the book. They're not just leaving a random review, and that Amazon prefers that. So whatever the platform it is, definitely, when you're purchasing it through any website or in a store, those reviews are very important. But also, I guess the word of mouth part of marketing is super important. So if you and I, CB, were talking about something we watched on Netflix, and I know that you're into science fiction, and I see something that I know, oh, CB's going to love this show, I'm going to tell you about it. And most likely, if we have a relationship, a friendship, you're going to take my word because I know you and I kind of know your tastes. So you're more likely to act on something simply by me recommending it to you. So as those listening, as you buy books and you find this and you know somebody who would love something, then recommend it because your words matter and it's going to help CB sell more books. So that's another way on top of doing the reviews, just in person. Make sure you tell somebody about something, a book that you love, and you're going to love CB's book. So just tell somebody. It's going to be a great way for the message to get out. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for telling them to buy my book, David. I really appreciate that.
That's the whole point of this podcast. I want people to come and support you and to encourage you with their purchases, right? That's the idea.
Absolutely.
Now, I know, CB, that you prepared for today, which makes me so happy. And your notebook has been out there the whole time we've been chatting. There's got to be something else we haven't touched on yet that's super important for the listeners to hear, or for an author to hear from your perspective. Rip open that notebook. What else have we haven't covered yet that you think is super important to include today?
I mean, you recommended on the first time that we came together, you recommended that I set up a YouTube channel so I could put our first podcast on there, and to maybe put some extra videos or whatever on there so people could get to know me. I did that. I took your word for it. I'm very grateful that you gave me that opportunity, or put that in my head at the very least. And now it's swinging forward. I'm gonna start producing some more videos on there. I think that, like you've said, it helps the audience to really get to know you, and maybe in getting to know you, they'll be more interested in checking out your work in the future.
Yeah, a book on a shelf in a store or on a website. Really, we have the image of the front cover. We have the little blurb about the book. We have reviews. But the moment we can actually interact with the author, I think it adds a completely different level to the whole purchase and marketing of a book, right? To know that we can hear you on a podcast, see you on a YouTube channel, whatever, see you on social media, to whatever extent you feel comfortable as an author doing. It's kind of like having a Maddie in the corner promoting you on social media or on a website or on YouTube. It's like you've hired another Maddie, basically, who's going to do the work for you in the background, just by putting yourself to places where people are going to be looking for you or looking for authors like you. So leveraging any of that kind of content, I think, is going to be beneficial. I think a lot of authors could do more of that to whatever degree they could. I just think it gets you out in front of people in a different way than just a book on a website or a book on a shelf, right? You need that little supplemental support. Basically, you need Maddie.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. It's worthwhile to overcome your shyness, and I can be very shy sometimes. It's worthwhile to do that. Bring it up in the world, put yourself out there, write as often as you can, because at least if you're writing, the work is coming to fruition one way or another. And don't get too down on yourself if the sales don't go immediately the way that you expect them to, because the cool thing about a book is it lasts. It doesn't go away. So one day down the road, somebody might pick up your book, might find it and say, "Hey, this is really great. Has anybody else heard about this?" And it could be a lifetime journey for that book. It could take 30 years. It could take 100 years. Moby Dick didn't even get any of its accolades until after his life. That's it. You just never know when something's gonna become the thing, and if the work is worth it. If you think that the work is worth it, do the work.
It's good, wise words. I look at it as kind of in real estate terms. We get equity in our home, right? We buy a house. Over time, it appreciates in value. It gets worth more, and we pay less, right? Because that's how it works. It's equity. I think in podcasting, we have podcast equity, where we're getting close to 500 episodes here on the show. Over 500 episodes. Yeah, you're getting a lot of content. But as an author, you have author equity in that as you write, as you continue writing, as you put your butt in a seat and you keep writing, that's all stuff that's going to bring you something down the road. So I encourage a lot of authors to not stop at book one if they have something more in them to share. Just keep writing. The more you do it, the more you exercise that muscle, it's going to get stronger. And the more you're out there in the world with people, again, like Maddie, promoting you into strangers in public, that all combined together is where success comes from. It's the equity over time. And I think a lot of us are in a hurry to get to the finish line, but the best races take time. So invest the time, keep writing, keep doing the thing, and the success is going to come, but it's going to be a better success because it's built over time. Would you kind of agree with that?
Absolutely.
Good. So for you authors listening, keep investing the time, follow CB's model, and put your butt in the seat. Just keep going because the good stuff is coming in the future. I love it. CB.
I love it too.
I love it, CB. I love talking to you. And I'm so encouraged by you and your support group and the people that love you and cherish you as an author, your community. I know they're always looking forward to the next thing with you. So to that end, for people that want to contact you, CB, they want to be in your world, they want to reach out to you and talk to you about your book, or maybe they need you to come and do a book signing or whatever. How are people getting in touch with you? Where do we send them?
Okay, I've got a couple of things now. I've got my link tree, and that's Odom's Library, my publishing company, ODOMSLIBRARY. That's also the website is www.odomslibrary.com. You can find me on Instagram and Threads as CB Sci-Fi.
Beautiful. We'll have all the links for that in the show notes as well. Leave us with something, CB, as we kind of wrap up. Again, I'm so glad to see you back. It makes me so happy to have you back again. Let's leave our authors with this. What are you doing to live your next chapter? I know you're writing, but maybe even beyond your author journey, how are you personally living your next chapter? What's next?
Well, Maddie and I are going to get married in March.
Come on.
Yeah.
What's more important than that?
Yes.
Right?
Yes, we're very excited. We've been very, very lucky to find a backyard with some of her friends that they are willing to offer for us. And we're going to, I don't want to give too much away because I don't know exactly how much of it we're going to be able to do, but we're not doing a very traditional wedding necessarily. And we're going to have multiple locations where the service, quote unquote, takes place throughout the backyard. So it's going to be a little bit more Willy Wonka if we can help it. We'll see how that goes.
Good.
We might even get out golden tickets.
Free candy for everyone. I love it. That's great. I love it. CB, thank you so much for this. And to Maddie in the background, I know you're there. Thank you for your support of CB through all of this. The two of you make a great couple. And I'm really excited for the two of you as connectivity makes its way around the world and gets into people's laps and into their hands. And I can't wait to go to the next airport and pop a book in somebody's hands and go read this on your next flight. It's a great idea, CB.
Thank you, David. Yeah, thank you so much. Congratulations on nearing 500 episodes. That's an incredible feat for this podcast. You're such an inspiration, man.
Excellent. Thank you. I appreciate that. I accept that. I thank you for that. And 2 of those 500 episodes are featuring you. So thank you for that as well. Excellent. Everybody, all the information for CB is always in the show notes. Again, reminder, when you buy CB's books, leave a great review. Tell everybody about it. Make sure people know about this amazing author and support him in his journey. And maybe they'll get a few more snails. We never know. CB, thank you so much for this.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for being here for the Living the Next Chapter podcast. So glad to have you as part of our family of listeners. There's a seat for you just here on Living the Next Chapter, and I'm so happy that you have listened to all the way to the end. Wow, you are now my new bestie. I want to let you know that I host 7 other podcasts on top of Living the Next Chapter. Yep, 8 total. One of them is called the How To Podcast series. If you are thinking, you know what, Dave, this podcast thing seems like a lot of fun, well, I'll give you a secret. It is. It's a great, amazing, fun time where you can get to meet great people, get your word out there, promote your book, promote what your coaching program, whatever you're doing. Podcasting is great. And if you want to learn how to do this, what you're hearing right now, head over to howtopodcast.ca and look up the How to Podcast series on YouTube, whatever app you're listening on. You'll find me there. And I'd love for you to come listen to how to do this. And if you're interested and have questions on how to podcast, reach out to me at howtopodcast.ca. Thank you for listening. Talk soon.